New to Airbnb?
Don't make these 3 mistakes that could cost you thousands. Hi, I'm Sarah Caracan.
I'm Annette Grant, and together we are.
Thanks for visiting.
We have been hosting short-term rentals for over a decade. We have welcomed tens of thousands of guests into our homes.
We have thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews, and we manage over $1.5 million in revenue, and we cannot wait to help you do the same. Don't be the lowest rate in your market. Okay, I know it's easy to think that if you drop your rate when you're in your slow season, that it'll help you get booked up. But here's the thing, low rates do not drive demand. Demand is demand. What is demand? That means there are people in your area looking for short-term rentals to book. And this is information you can get from a dynamic pricing software like Price Labs. But just, when your area is slower, right? Like you hear other hosts talking, even though you're brand new, like you kind of know, like for us, December through March is a really slow time. Let me tell you a story. So I manage properties for other people, and I made a mistake just 2 months ago, and I'm gonna share it with you so that you guys can all learn from me. Despite people much smarter than me, revenue managers who know a lot more than me, telling me, Sarah, dropping your rate does not, drive demand. This past January, in one of the properties that I manage, occupancy was so low, you guys, it was like 20, 30%. And this is not the norm for us. I have other properties in the same area that were doing well. So I panicked. And I was like, Sarah, I know you teach not to do this, but let's just do it anyway. Like, let's drop the rate as low as possible. So I dropped it. And then on the other side, once the month was over, I looked back, occupancy was still low. And then the people that did book with us paid that lower rate. So when I could have charged them the appropriate rate, what other people in my area were charging, I could have charged that. And so occupancy didn't change because, again, demand is low. I lost money there. And then that was a real humbling moment when I had to have a call with my owner, who I've been doing really well for the past 4 or 5 years, and say, I made a mistake. I did a thing that I teach people not to do, that I know not to do. And I did it anyway because I panicked. And for that, I lost you money. And of course, I only make money when they make money. So I lost money. So don't lose money.
Since you're a new host, we're gonna encourage you, please go watch our video on key performance indicators, because there's only 3 things that you need to know, and that video will break it all down for you. Mistake number 2, not using Instant Book. Airbnb literally tells you business is better with Instant Book. You're gonna have more guests. I know some people get very scared of Instant Book because they want to approve each and every reservation. So if you don't have Instant Book turned on, every single guest is going to have to reach out and you are gonna have to approve them. Now, you might be thinking, I'm gonna be able to approve every guest, I'm gonna make sure they're in alignment. No, this is a ton of friction for your guest because they don't know when you're gonna respond. This is a filter on Airbnb that people can say, I wanna look at properties that are only Instant Book. I know myself, I only book with people that are Instant Book. I don't want there to be this long drawn out back and forth. I have travel plans and I wanna make them that day. I don't wanna have to come back and maybe you're slow to respond. You don't want that. So there might be fear. I want to erase that for you. And I'm gonna tell you, I didn't have Instant Book turned on when I first got started, but quickly changed that on my hosting because I went to Airbnb Open. They no longer have it. Sadly, it was an amazing event with hosts from all over the world. I was a new host. This was in 2016. And every host there, I was just getting started. So I was asking them all the questions, and Instant Book was one of them. And when I say every host that I chatted with from around the world looked at me like I was leaving so much money on the table because I was having to approve each and every guest. Literally at that event, I turned Instant Book on and I've never went back. So please, you need to turn this on. Again, Airbnb says business is better with Instant Book. If they're saying it's better, it's definitely better. Give it a try for yourself.
Not using dynamic pricing. What is dynamic pricing? That word dynamic, just all of a sudden, when I first heard it, it feels fancy. But think about when you go to look at flights. You know how you're always checking to see what the flight is and okay, that looks high. Maybe you're using Google Flights or you're on any of those trip planning websites and you're monitoring the pricing because it goes up and down. That up and down, that's dynamic. or when you use Uber and it's more expensive, at 5 p.m. whenever everyone's getting out of work. It's dynamic. It's reading your marketplace and seeing when demand is high. And then it automatically adjusts the pricing to match that demand. That is what dynamic pricing is. And us as hosts, we have access to that. Now, you could use Airbnb's smart pricing. It is essentially Airbnb's dynamic pricing product. But the thing is Airbnb is going to look out for Airbnb. They just want you booked because they've got a ton of Airbnbs all over the world. So the more they're booked, even if it's at little increments of money, they're cashing in, they're raking it in, which love Airbnb, truly, would not be the same without them. But if you look into a third party dynamic pricing software, they are going to have your best interests in mind because they are just going to be looking at your property and how it stacks up with the rest of the competition in the area and making sure you are taking your share of the marketplace. Now, dynamic pricing is something that you'll have to learn and be a part of. Watch some, videos on it, or a lot of these companies have workshops. We use and love Price Labs. We'll link to it in the show notes for you. But let me tell you, any new host, and they ask me what's something that I should add on now that I've got the hang of the Airbnb app? My next thing is you have to get dynamic pricing because I've seen it time and time again. When you add it and you tell the software a little bit about your property, you tell it a little bit about your marketplace, and then it feeds in everyone else's information, magic happens. And I can guarantee you will make more money. And some of that money is going to blow your own mind. We've heard it before so we have a mastermind. And we will encourage new mastermind members who have yet to take the dynamic pricing plunge. We will encourage them to sign up. They'll look at the prices that Price Labs is suggesting they charge, and they're like, no way, I could never get that amount. And time again, they do, and they come back to us being like, oh my God, I got that amount. And now that compounds, because now that they got that amount, this February, well, next February, they can look back in their historicals. Well, they got the $430 that last February. They can at least do that this February. So it's this extra money that you're making. It's going to make your pricing stronger and stronger every year, really making your home make as much money as possible.
Talk about losing thousands. It's when your guest checks in and your property isn't ready. That's why we do not risk it at all. We use Breezeway on every single turnover. It's property care. It's right here on your phone. And listen, our inspectors go through and take photos of every room. And you want to know why? Because we want to make sure that the photo that the guests see when they were booking is exactly what they're getting when they check in. And the only way to do this is have a checklist and be able to document it with timestamps and photos. And that's what Breezeway can do for you. If you want to learn more, check the link below and they'll be happy to help you.
And as always, we're going to over-deliver and give you a bonus tip.
Listen, we're super hosts, so you've now taken all of the advice from the first 3 tips, and you're going to have some, extra money in your bank account. We want you to use it on this investment.
Professional photos. You're going to go on Airbnb right now, and you will see hosts who don't have professional photos, but that does not mean you are a Thanks for Visiting community member now. And here's the thing. When people book on Airbnb, that's all they book off of are the photos, right? So if you're optimizing your pricing, like we just taught you to do, you better make sure that value is there. And they need to feel that value match by the photos.
And we know everyone has their iPhone or the most up-to-date phone in the world, but listen, those photos, they don't cut it, okay? Unless you are a professional photographer.
Right. If you know how to use it, great.
I know if there's photographers out there, they're loving this message right now. Let the professional photographers do their work. It is an investment that will pay for itself over and over and over again. And just go online. I was just doing some market research yesterday, and I was still cringing at the amount of people that do not have professional photos. So do yourself a favor, do your property a favor, do your bank account a favor, and get those professional photos
Because
done.
if your photos aren't professional, as a consumer, I'm thinking, well, if they just blew off really showing off their space, what else are they blowing off in their property, right? But if these photos are all encompassing, I can take a tour of your property. It's just the right amount of light. I'm seeing all the amenities very clear because I am going through those photos, judging that property and seeing if it is deserving of my dollars. So it is a crazy important investment. And once you do it once, you really don't have to do it that often unless you change major things in your property. So it's like this great investment that is well worth it. Continuing to over deliver. Another mistake that new hosts make is not tracking their numbers. You have this property, you have this asset, and it was probably pretty expensive. You have to know your numbers. And so we love helping new hosts track their numbers. So check out the show notes below. We've got an awesome tracker for you, completely free, just for being a part of Thanks for Visiting community. I'm Sarah Karakayan.
I'm Annette Grant, and together we are
Thanks for visiting. Talk to you next time.
Wait. Have you hit that subscribe button yet?